Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to review the most affordable pen display from Wacom so far. This is the Wacom One. First, big thanks to Wacom Singapore for providing me with this review unit. Now this video is going to be a bit long, so if you want to save time you can actually check out the text review that I have already written. The link is in the video description below. So in this review I will be showing you the things that are included in the box, talk about the design, show you the driver functionality and also the drawing performance. These are all the things included. So we have the USB wall adapter and it comes with different heads for different countries. We have the batteryless pen. So this pen is not going to run out of battery life because there is no battery. The build quality is quite solid. I like the smooth matte surface here. It's very comfortable to hold. There is only one side button here, no eraser at the back. Now the pen technology here, it's similar to the Samsung S Pen. So this also has only one single button. You can actually use this interchangeably with this. And I've reviewed the Staedtler Norris Digital as well. These three pens, they use the same technology, so you can use either one of them on the Wacom One pen display. I've assigned this button to right click, which I use all the time, but having another button would be so much more convenient. This is the only cable included. On one end, we have these two ports. The full-size HDMI for the video signal and USB Type-A for the data. These two will go to the computer. At the other end, we have this L-shaped connector, which is the display connector to the pen display. And this USB Type-A will go to the power source. Now this design, it's unnecessarily big. Technically speaking, you can connect this to your computer's USB port and draw power from your computer. I've tried this with my laptop and it works, but there is actually documentation on Wacom's website that says that that move is not recommended and Wacom is not going to be responsible for any possible damage to your computer or your pen display. So they recommend using the wall power adapter that is included. One thing about this L-shaped cable that connects to the pen display is you have to connect it in this way so that the cable runs out to the left side. Even though this looks like USB-C, it's actually not reversible. If you connect it like this, the power light will blink, but nothing happens. The good thing about this cable is it's very long, it's 2 meters long. Design of this pen display, it looks good. I like the rounded corners. The build quality is quite solid. There's this little pen holder here. And the matte screen protector is already applied onto the display. And you can see the anti-glare is quite aggressive. So if you have strong light source, this is what you can expect. But if you are looking at the display straight on, it's going to look like this. The bezel's quite thick but functional because you can rest your hand while you are drawing. This pen display is quite thinner at the bottom compared to the top. And this is how it compares to the pen. Now this is made of plastic and there is a very nice textured feel to it. Design on the back, it's very clean. Two small rubber feet here and this long piece of rubber that you can actually deploy into a stand. The serial number is hidden here, and on this side there are 3 replacement nibs and the nib remover. The stand can only deploy at one angle, but this is a very comfortable angle to draw with. The only button on this pen display is the power button at the top right. The only display attributes you can adjust for this pen display would be brightness and color temperature, and you have to do that with the driver. I'll show you later on. Colors on this 13.3-inch pen display, they look great out of the box, so you may not need to do any additional color calibration. I measured 92% sRGB support, which is quite good for a pen display at this price range. The official retail price, by the way, US $399. The resolution supported is 1920 by 1080. The brightness is advertised as 200 nits, but I measured 187, so this is not a very bright display, but for indoor use, that's perfectly adequate. This seems like a laminated display to me, but it also seems like there is still a gap between the drawing surface and the screen beneath. But when I tap on the drawing surface, it doesn't feel hollow at all. When you are drawing as per normal, the lines will look like they are appearing directly beneath the pen tip. So this pen is very accurate. There is no misalignment or parallax, and even if there is misalignment or parallax, you can use the driver to calibrate and remove the parallax. The Windows and Mac drivers are essentially the same, so I'm just going to show you the macOS driver. The only difference is with Windows, there's this option called Windows Ink, which you may have to toggle on or off if the pressure sensitivity is not working as expected. So for macOS, you can find the driver in System Preferences, and this is where you can customize the pen. So to adjust the pressure sensitivity, you use this slider here. I have this all the way up to firm. Now the initial activation force for this pen is very low, so if you have the pen tip barely touching the surface, it will produce a very thin line. But I find that for my purposes, I want to press down a bit harder to get the thin line, so I have this all the way up here. And here you can customize the side button with the various functionality, mouse clicks, keyboard shortcuts, but it only has one button. And here you can calibrate the cursor and the pen tip to remove any parallax. I didn't have to do that because there is no parallax. For the on-screen controls, it's not that useful here in the sense that I can assign on-screen controls to this button here, but I also need the right click to be this button. But let me just show you how useful this can be. The thing with Wacom One is there are no physical shortcut buttons, so if you want to use keyboard shortcuts, you will have to use your own keyboard. Or in this case here, I have assigned the pen button to the on-screen controls, so I can click and I can click any of these shortcuts here. But then I have lost the right click because I have this assigned to on-screen control. Personally, for me, I prefer to use a physical keyboard for my keyboard shortcut, so I'm going to keep this button as a right click. The driver is actually split into two different software. So earlier on, that's the driver from the System Preferences, and this is the Wacom Desktop Center. And here you can back up all the settings that you have created with the driver. But more importantly, this is where you can change the brightness and color temperature of the display. So these are the only options you can choose to adjust. Oh, there's contrast as well. Let's test the drawing performance. I'm looking out for jitter when it comes to drawing diagonal lines slowly. So it seems like the lines, they are quite smooth. Let's try the transition from thin to thick. Now this pen, it's not as sensitive compared to those pens that have over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. But when it comes to drawing, it's still very sensitive. I can still get the lines to come out just the way I want them to. Drawing performance is similar on Windows, so I'm just going to show you Mac OS. And this is Photoshop on Mac OS. So right now it's zoomed in at 400%, that's why you see all the pixelation. Now the 1080p resolution of this pen display for a 13-inch display like this, it's quite adequate. It's still a very usable resolution. So the initial activation force is very light. Oops. I do not see or experience any lag. And the pressure sensitivity works really well. And because there is no eraser, I have to use my keyboard to get the eraser. Let's see how the lines, how they taper. So they taper quite nicely. So this is the same brush that I have been using so far. I have not changed the size yet. So with this single brush, I can get so much variation with the thickness. The pen supports slightly over 4000 levels of pressure sensitivity, and there is tilt sensitivity as well. More on that later. Let's see if I can put dots on the screen. So dots work really well. The matte surface of the display, it's really nice to draw on. It's very paper-like, and it provides a good amount of friction so that you can have more control with your pen. By the way, this display, it doesn't support finger gestures because there is no touch. This is Clip Studio Paint on the Mac. Clip Studio Paint performs really well. Very responsive. The lines, they are very fluid. This is great for quick sketching. Pressure works fantastic. Pressure works really well. This is Medibank Paint Pro. Very responsive as well. Performance is actually very similar to Clip Studio Paint. Pressure works great. And this is Krita on the Mac. I just want to show you the tilt sensitivity support. So as I turn the pen, you can see the cursor, it follows the direction of the pen. So let's have the darker lines on the left side. And now I'm going to switch hand and have the darker lines on the right side. So tilt works very nicely. You can also use the Samsung S Pen. Tilt works as well. You can see how the cursor follows the direction of the pen. And even the Norris digital stylus, it also has tilt. I have tested Wacom One on Photoshop, Affinity Photo, Medibank Paint Pro, Krita, Clip Studio, and I don't see or experience any glitches, which is great. So overall, the performance of this pen display, it's actually quite good. The best thing I like about this is it performs consistently, so it's very predictable, and that is one thing I really need when it comes to using products like this. Consistency. The lines must always come out just the way you expect them to. Another feature of the Wacom One is you can connect this to a compatible Android device. So here I have a Samsung Galaxy Tab S6. So I'm going to connect the HDMI and the USB to this tablet that I have on the right side. And you can see now it has mirrored the screen onto the Wacom pen display. One thing I noticed is the content or the aspect ratio. It doesn't scale to fill up the whole pen display. So this aspect ratio, it's still similar to the Samsung tablet. So here we can draw with the pen as well. And there is also pressure sensitivity. But the thing here is because there is no touch, you have to rely on all these buttons to move around, like panning around. So if you want to draw, you have to go back to the brush button. If you want to undo, you have to click undo or redo. So without the touch features, it can be a bit inconvenient, but pressure works and it's also very responsive here. The lines, they taper very well here as well. Connecting the Wacom One to my Samsung tablet actually doesn't make a lot of sense because this is a 10.5-inch display. It's already quite big and comfortable to draw on. So this is a 13.3-inch. It's bigger, yes, but it's not like significantly bigger compared to this. So a better use case will probably to connect this to our phone. A phone has a small screen, so when you connect the pen display to your phone, you will have access to a much larger drawing area. And at the time of this review, these are the current devices that are supported. And these are the apps that are supported. So the one that I was using earlier, that's Medibank Paint. Alright, to conclude, let me tell you the things that I like and dislike. I like the design. I think it looks good. Build quality is very solid. And the matte texture drawing surface, it's really nice to draw on. Drawing performance is excellent. I've tested this with various drawing software on both Mac and Windows, and this performed really well. Things I don't like, I wish this display could be brighter. Now this brightness is adequate for indoor use, but I wish it could be brighter. There are no physical shortcut buttons on the side, but that's really not a very big downside to me because I'm a keyboard shortcut kind of person. And for the pen, there's only one side button. I wish it could have an additional one. It would really be more convenient. And the last thing I can think of is when I tried to connect this and use it as an extended desktop, I wasn't able to get the cursor to jump from one display to the other displays, and I cannot find that functionality or feature in the driver, so I'm not sure if you can use this in extended desktop mode. So right now, it's best to use this with the mirror mode or use this as the primary display. Alright, so that's it for this review. Overall, I think it's a good product for US $399. Alright, what do you think? Do you think it's worth the money? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye!